Hello friends, a very good afternoon to one and all. From today we are going to start our next system, that is chemotherapy and antimicrobial agents. First of all, the objective of this introductory lecture is define and classify antimicrobial agents. Basic difference between antimicrobial agents and antibiotic, you must have seen, you must have used this word many a times, word antibiotic. But all antibiotics are not antibiotics are antimicrobial agents, but antimicrobial agents are not all antibiotics. Then second objective is how to choose antimicrobial agents in particular situation, problem that arises with antibiotic or antimicrobial therapy. These two questions, the things written in red, can be asked as long answer questions, whereas uh, these questions can be asked during Viva or during as a short answer questions. So let us continue with our objective. First of all, we must know what do we mean by chemotherapy. Chemotherapy was the term given by Paul Ehrlich because it was known that there are certain microorganisms which are responsible for sepsis, and he was using some drugs which are especially lethal on this microbial agents. That's why the patient was getting cured. So he was using substance with known chemical structures. Those chemical structures which were known, chemical agents they were used. That's why the term given by Paul Ehrlich as chemotherapy. But by definition, what do we mean by chemotherapy is treatment of specific systemic infections with specific drugs that selectively suppresses the infective microorganisms. That means without having significant effect on the host. That is the definition of chemotherapy. Now, just have a look to the discovery of these antibiotic agents. The first agents which were invented was somewhere in 1934 to 35, and that was sulfonamide. Sulfonamide was invented by Domecq, and after the idea of Paul Ehrlich, in those era, streptococcal septicemia was considered to be very lethal things, and he was developing streptococcal septicemia, and he was using prontosil red dye to cure that septicemia which was induced into mice. So that was the first agent, we can say, that was invented in 1936, followed by penicillin, tetracycline, chloramphenicol, aminoglycoside. So this is the timeline. And recently now we are having oxazolidinones and newer antibiotics. So let us have a look, what do we mean by these drugs? How do we classify them? These drugs can be classified into natural antibiotics and semi-synthetic antimicrobial agents. Natural antibiotics are the metabolic products produced by microorganisms. That means some toxic elements which are produced by microorganisms which can be lethal for other microorganisms. As for example, penicillin. Penicillin is obtained from the penicillium mold, that is fungus, Penicillium notatum, and that is lethal for gram-positive organisms. Similarly, streptomycin, that is obtained from Streptomyces species, that is fungus. Okay, so these are the living organisms which are liberating some toxic elements which may be lethal for the other group of microorganisms. That means antibiotics are the products or metabolic products produced by microorganisms itself. Then came the mixture hybrid products, semi-synthetic antibiotics, chemically modified natural agents. Large group of modern antibiotics are these of this type, extended spectrum penicillin. and opposed to that, synthetic antibiotic, which are chemically related to natural antibiotic but completely industrially manufactured. That means, as for example, quinolones. So, just to classify, natural antibiotics, penicillin, semi-synthetic, extended spectrum penicillin, and totally synthetic, factory made, that is quinolones. Now we have seen there are two terms, antibiotics, antimicrobial agents. Antibiotics, as I have already said, they are the substance which are obtained from living organisms and may be lethal for other group of organisms. And antimicrobial agents are chemically, factorially manufactured. All antimicrobial agents cannot be antibiotic, but all antibiotics are having potential to kill or suppress the growth of microbial agents. That means all antibiotic can be considered as antimicrobials. Now we know that there are variety of microorganisms broadly can be classified, which you may have studied in microbiology: virus, bacteria, fungi, and protozoa. What is more important as a clinician, as doctor, for us to know the chemical structure? No. Whether the drug is bactericidal or bacteriostatic. Bactericidal are aminoglycoside, beta-lactams, vancomycin, quinolones, etc. And bacteriostatic, those who can hold the growth of microorganisms like chloramphenicol, erythromycin, clindamycin, sulfonamide, tetracycline. Many of the bacteriostatic agents on higher dose may become bactericidal. Now, criteria that determine the effectiveness of antimicrobial agents. First and foremost, they should have selective destruction for the microorganisms. No or rare side effects should be produced on the host. Antimicrobial substance should have a specific action against molecule or enzyme or metabolism of the microorganism only. That means, in simpler words, what I mean to say is they should have some target. This drug should have target in the microorganism which can be used as receptors. Now, if we classify them according to their mode of actions, there are certain antimicrobial agents which inhibit cell wall synthesis. There are certain antimicrobial agents which inhibit folic acid metabolism. There are certain antimicrobial agents which hold or disrupt the DNA replication. And there are certain antiviral agents which inhibit protein synthesis, which does not allow structural protein to incorporate. So according to this, we can also have classification, but for a clinician, more useful classification is to know whether the drug is bacteriostatic or bactericidal. But as a student of second MBBS, if you remember this slide and if you remember these names, it will be very easy for you to remember the pharmacological basis or mechanism of action of antibiotics. Now there are so many drugs, so many agents, so many formulations available in the market. How to select antimicrobial agent in particular situation? This question can be answered by introspecting what we are looking for. Who is the culprit? Microorganism. So how will we select? Depending upon the microorganism or the disease produced by microorganism. Second, who will be the recipient? Who will be the receiver of that drug? Patient. So we have to keep patient related factors in mind. Then what we are going to select? The pharmacokinetic or pharmacodynamic parameter of drug. And lastly, the local factors. So let us see one by one how to select according to organisms. Which organisms are producing some disease that can be, that we know by just clinical judgment. After practice, we can say this disease can be produced. Say, for example, if I give you, suppose a patient comes to you with history of severe body ache vomiting and high grade temperature with chills, your first guess would be malaria or UTI. So depending upon the good guess, clinical judgment, if you are having UTI in mind, your second question should be, are you having burning micturition? Because this type of question or this type of answer you may not get directly. So you have to ask them કે પેશાબમાં બળતરા થાય છે? જો હા તો UTI ના chances વધારે છે. જો ના તો go for investigation, go for routine urine routine micro to rule out UTI as well as complete blood count with peripheral smear. So, by clinical judgment based on the knowledge of possible causative organisms or from the knowledge of prevailing pattern in the geographical area of that society, like ત્યાં હવે અત્યારે ડેન્ગ્યુને જો વધારે પડતા પેલા હોય તો ડેન્ગ્યુ પણ હોઈ શકે છે, તેના માટે આપણે કરવું પડે બ્લડ કાઉન્ટ. Okay. Then by laboratory diagnosis, if the condition is chronic and we can wait for lab diagnosis, wait for the lab diagnosis to come. And if the condition is life threatening, don't wait till laboratory report comes. Start empirical therapy, switch to appropriate drug later. Then if the facility is not available, you are in a primary healthcare setup where facility of lab diagnosis may take time. There are certain common conditions, right? And possibility of mixed infections. At that time, you have to start either empirical therapy or use broad spectrum antibiotic with combination. Say for example, if a patient of dysentery comes to you, you don't go for lab diagnosis of stool sample. Usually, you just give mixture of antibacillary agents and anti-amoebic agents. Second is patient-related factors. Who is our recipient? Of course, what we will look for? Age. Childrenમાં અમુક વસ્તુ ન દેવાય, like chloramphenicol cannot be given to younger babies of below 8 months because it may cause gray baby syndrome. So there are certain antibiotics which cannot be metabolized by small kids, so should be avoided. Even like tetracycline and drugs, they should not be given to younger babies or pediatric age group below 6 years because it will have negative effect on the bone and teeth formation. And of course, elderly patients, geriatric group patients. Altered pharmacokinetics is observed. Metabolism, excretion, status of liver and kidney functions are not well like adults. And there are certain drugs which may cause harmful effect on bone and teeth. Of course, if the patient is having drug allergy or if the patient's immunity status is down, or of course a physiological function, physiological status like pregnancy or lactation, that factor also should be kept in mind at the time of selecting antimicrobial agent. Third is drug related factor. There are n number of drugs available in the market. So depending upon the safety and efficacy, sensitivity pattern should be tested. Pharmacokinetic, which drugs are well distributed and how they are eliminated. If the patient is having liver or kidney disease, then those drugs getting eliminated by liver or kidney should not be given. And as I said, bacteriostatic or bactericidal. Then preferred route of administration. If drug is safely given by oral route, avoid parenteral route. But there are certain antibiotics which are not absorbed orally, like aminoglycoside. They have to be given by parenteral route. Lastly, but not the least, we have to think about the cost. This thing you will be learning how to choose P drug. We have to keep cost in mind. Then local factors. Local factors, what we will see? Site of infection. If the drug can reach up to the site of infection, it's better to give locally rather than to give parenterally. If there is presence of pus it may lead to inactivation of certain antibiotics like sulfonamides or aminoglycosides, certain antimicrobial agents, of course. If there is pus, then we have to go for debridement. Pus or foreign body has to debride first. Otherwise, what will happen? There will be formation of antibioma. And if the condition is anaerobic, if the organism is in anaerobic environment, that means organisms grow in without oxygen environment, then the drugs which may be helpful in this condition should be chosen. Now, second point what we look for is problems that can arise with antimicrobial therapy. First and foremost is toxicity. Whatever drug you choose, whatever route you choose, it is going to have some effect on the host. Local toxicity, if it is given by oral route, it may cause gastric irritation. If it is given by parenteral route, pain at the site of injection. Even after IM injection, it may certain antibiotic can cause injection abscess. Or if it is given by IV route, it may lead to thrombophlebitis. Systemic toxicity should be kept in mind. All of them can produce dose-related toxicity. That should be kept in mind. But some have high therapeutic index like ciproflox or erythromycin. They are safer on routine doses. But if it is given for longer period of time, they may also show systemic toxicity. We can give such type of drugs without individualizing the dose. In opposed to that, some have lower therapeutic index. That means doses may have to be individualized and toxicity can be monitored. As for example, aminoglycoside. Aminoglycoside are known to produce ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity. And aminoglycosides are the drugs which are not absorbed orally, have to be given by parenteral route. They have high molecular weight, so they cannot be absorbed into any tissues. They are getting excreted unchanged through kidney, and they are having potential of developing nephrotoxicity. So if we have to give aminoglycoside to elderly patient where we expect that this GFR capacity of kidney goes down, gets decreased, then we have to individualize the drug dose, depending upon the GFR. Then tetracycline can cause liver and kidney damage. It is well known. So those patients who are chronic alcoholics or having chronic liver disease and kidney disease, we can't give tetracycline. Chloramphenicol is known to produce bone marrow depression. So we have to be when we are giving these drugs to smaller kids. Especially tetracycline can cause discoloration of teeth in the children below 6 years. So we have to be very cautious when we give tetracycline. We cannot give tetracycline to pregnant ladies and children below 6 years. This is the such type of toxicity can be seen, discoloration of teeth. So younger kids and pregnant ladies, we should not give tetracycline. There are certain drugs which we know that they are having very low therapeutic index. They are used only in specific situation. You will feel, if we know that these are very low therapeutic index drugs, then why should we use them? But they are used in specific situation where there is no other alternative available. Like polymyxin B, it's antifungal agent, vancomycin, amphotericin B. These are drugs which are having severe toxicity. Polymyxin B can cause neurological and renal damage. Vancomycin can cause hearing loss and kidney damage. Again, it can cause ototoxicity and nephrotoxicity. Amphotericin B also is ototoxic as well as neurotoxic. So these drugs have to be chosen when no other alternatives are available. Second problem that is commonly seen is hypersensitivity reactions. All antimicrobial agents are capable of causing hypersensitivity reactions. And these hypersensitivity reactions can be considered as B type of side effect, bizarre, that is unpredictable and unrelated to dose. So not all individuals will have hypersensitivity reaction, but certain individuals will have hypersensitivity reaction, and we don't know which individuals will get it. Ranging from urticarial rashes to anaphylactic shock, it can be produced. Like penicillin, cephalosporin, sulfonamides, these drugs are known to produce hypersensitivity. So whenever we are giving penicillin or cephalosporin by injectable route, we have to carry out test dose or negative test dosing should be carried out. Sulfonamide are hemolytic drugs. So those patients who are having G6PD deficiency should not be given sulfonamides. How to know that these drugs, these patients are having G6PD deficiency? Usually those patients who have chronic anemia, or there are certain races like Parsis and all, they have G6PD deficiency. Very important side effect which may be seen is superinfections. Bakru katta oot pe se. Appearance of new infection as a result of chemotherapy. Because of destruction of normal bacterial flora, bacteriocins which are produced by the normal flora may cause infections. There is no competition, so normal flora now will have more pathogenic, and that will cause infections. Very common example is Candida. Candida albicans. Right? Superinfections are more common if host defense is compromised. That means if host immunity is down, or the patient is already on immunosuppressant drugs, then these superinfections are more likely to appear. Corticosteroid therapy, leukemia, or any other malignancies, AIDS, diabetes mellitus, these are the conditions where host immune response goes down. And common sites of side effects, these superinfections are oropharynx, respiratory tract, GOT. This is the oral pharyngeal candidiasis and vaginal candidiasis. These are very commonly seen, common side effects which are seen during immunocompromised patients' chemotherapy. Superinfections are very, very difficult to treat. Then nutritional deficiencies. Some of the B complex group of vitamins and vitamin K are synthesized by our intestinal flora. So if we give antibiotic for prolonged period of time, they will destroy this flora and it will result into vitamin deficiency. Another side effect can be considered as masking of infection. A short course of antimicrobial agent therapy may be sufficient to treat one infection, but that can mask another concurrent infection for a shorter time, which may flare up later with greater force. For example, if I give you appropriate example, you are in a OPD and a patient comes to you with the chief complaint of mild grade fever with slight cough. Of course, keeping COVID in mind, you will think first about COVID. But if a patient is complaining about loss of weight, then not interested in surroundings and having mild fever, what will you do? You will give some paracetamol and you will treat with for the cough. So for time being he will be treated, but after 15 days he will return back to you. સાહેબ પાછું તાવ ચડી ગયો, તાવ આવે છે, કંઈ ખાવાનું ભાવતું નથી, વજન ઉતરતું જાય છે. Actually he is a case of tuberculosis and you are treating him as pharyngitis. So with the antibiotic therapy his pharyngitis may be treated, but જે mycobacteria છે એ તો એની જાતે develop થવાના જ છે, right? So TB may be masked for a shorter period if the patient is treated as a case of respiratory infection, but later on tuberculosis will manifest in the severe form. Another very important side effect which is seen with antimicrobial therapy is resistance. Resistance means it is nothing but tolerance. Resistance to antimicrobial agent. This superbugs, these organisms, they don't answer to this antibiotics. Unresponsiveness of microorganism to antimicrobial agent, and that may develop in the phenomenon of tolerance. There are two types like tolerance, natural and acquired. Natural means some microbes lack the metabolic process or the target site which is affected by the particular drug. As simple as penicillin is not effective for viral disease. Can we treat our COVID patient with penicillin? No, because they don't have that target protein. So, it may be group specific. Gram negatives are resistant to penicillin G, or aerobes are not sensitive to metronidazole, or species specific. Viruses or fungi are insensitive to antibacterial. That is about natural resistance. Then acquired resistance, development of resistance by an organism which was actually sensitive earlier, but this resistance is developed due to use of antimicrobial agent. ધીમે 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 રીઢા થઈ જાય. This can happen with any microbe, and it's a major clinical. How this resistance will be developed? Microorganisms are also, you can say, they are living organisms, and survival of fittest no rule અહીંયા પણ લાગુ પડે. શરૂઆતમાં એન્ટીમાઇક્રોબિયલ એજન્ટને સેન્સિટિવ હોય એટલે એ લોકો એનાથી ઇફેક્ટ થતા હોય, પણ ધીમે 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 એમાંથી અમુક લોકો એવા દબંગ થઈ જાય કે ભાઈ આપણે કોઈને આવી એન્ટીબાયોટિક આવે ને એને આપણે આપણું કાં તો ટાર્ગેટ પ્રોટીન માસ્ક કરી દો અથવા એ એન્ટીમાઇક્રોબિયલ એજન્ટને આપણા સેલમાંથી આપણા ઘરમાંથી કાઢી મૂકો. So this type of you can say dabang behavior can be transmitted overnight in the sense તરત જ next progeny જાય એટલે મ્યુટેશન થી મ્યુટેશન થી એ થાય. બધા જેટલા બાકીના ઓર્ગેનિઝમ છે કે હા બરોબર છે યાર, આવી કઈ આપણે એન્ટીમાઇક્રોબિયલ એજન્ટને જવાબ આપવાનો નથી. So it can be by mutation or પેઢી દર પેઢી that gene transfers. R factor જે resistant factor છે એ transfers. So that is infectious. The resistance causing gene is passing from one organism to another. Either it may be horizontal transfer, rapid spread of resistance to multiple AMA, and it will produce multi-drug resistant bug, superbug. The gene transfer process can be by conjugation, transduction, transfer. How and why bacteria acquire resistance? This is conjugation. Gram negative organism માં sex pilus હોય એમાંથી R factor plasmid આવી રીતે ટ્રાન્સફર થયો. પછી ટ્રાન્સફોર્મેશનમાં કે પ્લાઝમિડ જે હતો એ મીડિયમમાં રિલીઝ થયો, and that is taken up by the R factor this organism, or bacteriophage જે છે એ મીડિયમમાંથી પ્લાઝમિડ ઉપાડે અને આને reinfect કરે. So in short, transformation, bacteria acquire new genetic material from the environment, or bacteriophage can transmit R factor to the initially sensitive organism. So these are the three ways: conjugation, transformation, transduction. These are the three ways of transferring resistance. After getting resistance or R factor plasmid, the organism will become either drug tolerant. That means you need larger dose of antimicrobial agent to be effective, drug tolerant, or drug destroying. They develop the capacity to kill antimicrobial or destroy antimicrobial agent, like penicillinase producing organisms, they destroy penicillin. Or drug impermeable, they block their entry site so that the drug cannot enter inside the cell. This organism can close their porine channels, right? So ultimately there will be failure of chemo. Now this is very during the class of tolerance also I have give an example of cross tolerance. Similarly, here cross resistance. Acquisition of resistance to one antimicrobial agent shows resistance to another antimicrobial which has never been exposed to or microorganism. That is seen in chemically or mechanistically related drugs. As for example, resistant to one penicillin means resistance to every penicillin as well as cephalosporin too, right? And resistant to tetracycline means resistance to macrolide as well, because their target protein is 30S and 50S ribosome. That is common. How to prevent this condition of development of resistance? Any indiscriminate or inadequate use or unduly prolonged use of antimicrobial agents should be avoided. Prefer rapidly acting and selective AMA as far as possible. Use combination of AMA when prolonged therapy is must. Multiple therapy should be given like tuberculosis, HIV, જેમાં આપણે મહિનાઓ સુધી ટ્રીટમેન્ટ આપવી પડે એમાં કોમ્બિનેશન થેરાપી આપવાની. Notorious organism must be treated intensively. So this is about how to prevent resistance. Even though at every moment of time antimicrobial therapy is not successful. So what are the causes of failure of AMA therapy? Either improper diagnosis or improper drug or improper route of administration or for less period of time. The treatment given for lesser period of time. અથવા પેશન્ટે ન લીધી, લાઈક ટ્યુબરક્યુલોસિસની ટ્રીટમેન્ટ આપણે 2 મહિના ઇન્ટેન્સિવ ફેઝ ફોલોડ બાય 4 મહિના આપવાની છે અને પેશન્ટને વોમિટિંગ ને એવું થાય છે તો પેશન્ટનો કમ્પ્લાયન્સ જતો રહે છે કે નથી લેવી મારે ડ્રગ, આનાથી જ મને આવું થાય છે. તો એટલા માટે જ આપણે ડોટ્સ થેરાપી આવે છે કે ડાયરેક્ટલી ઓબ્ઝર્વ ટ્રીટમેન્ટ છે. સેકન્ડ રીઝન મે બી ટ્રીટમેન્ટ સ્ટાર્ટેડ ટુ લેટ. પેશન્ટ ચલતા હે ચલને દો અને ઓવર ધ કાઉન્ટર ડ્રગ લઈ લઈને પીસીએમ લઈને અટકાવે અથવા તો સ્ટીરોઇડ ઘણા આપી દે, બરાબર. એનાથી થોડો ટાઈમ તમને સારું લાગે પણ અંડરલાઇંગ કોઝ ફ્લેર અપ થઈ જાય. સો એક્ચ્યુઅલ ટ્રીટમેન્ટ સ્ટાર્ટેડ ટુ લેટ. ફેલિયર ટુ ટેક નેસેસરી એડજુવન્ટ મેઝર્સ લાઇક ડ્રેનેજ ઓફ પસ. પસ ડ્રેન આઈએનડી કરીને પછી આપણે એન્ટીબાયોટિક સ્પ્રિંકલ કરવાની, અદરવાઇઝ એન્ટીબાયોમાં થઈ જાય. Poor host defense, either patient may be on immunosuppressive therapy or patient's host defense mechanism is compromised. Infecting organism hiding behind the barriers like in the eyeball or in the behind the blood brain barrier. So this may be some cause. And not given radical cure. After malaria તમે શીખશો કે મલેરિયાની ટ્રીટમેન્ટ કર્યા પછી આપણે પ્રાઇમાક્વિન આપવી પડે. ફોર ઇફ ઇટ ઇઝ વાયવેક્સ મલેરિયા ફોર 15 days આપવી પડે. ઇફ ઇટ ઇઝ ફાલ્સિપેરમ હાયર ડોઝ 45 મિલીગ્રામ સિંગલ થેરાપી. સો દેટ ઇઝ રેડિકલ ક્યોર. દેટ ઇઝ નોન એઝ રેડિકલ ક્યોર, જે આપણે એના ગેમેટ્સ અને એના સેક્સ્યુઅલ ફોર્મને પણ ઉપર ઇફેક્ટ કરે. અમીબાયોસિસ અમીબિક ડ્રગ આપ્યા પછી મેટ્રોનિડેઝોલ કે સેક્નિડેઝોલ આપ્યા પછી આપણે ડાયલોક્સિનેટ ફ્યુરોઇડ થેરાપી કરવી પડે. અધરવાઇઝ those gametes or those immature forms will again get into matured form and give the relapse of disease. So to summarize, help your antibiotic to do their job, take as directed, finish the full prescription even if you are feeling better, help to prevent antibiotic resistance. This is the summarization of whole antimicrobial therapy. Thank you.